Hello, fiber folks. My name is Trent. I'm the Weftride. Welcome to my studio here in the mountains of Western North Carolina. I'm sorry I couldn't produce a video last week. I had a terrible cold, and I'm still, if you can probably hear, having some effects from the cold, but I feel so much better. I did want to talk about an important topic to all fiber artists, and that is telling what fibers you're working with. I know I buy a lot of fiber from secondhand sources, sales, online auctions, all that kind of stuff. And I often don't have labels to go by, so I need to figure out what content a fiber is. I, as a costume designer, have been using these techniques called a burn test for years to decide what fibers are for needing to know things like dyeing or treatments or finishes. And you can use the same fiber test on yarns. It works really well. And all you really need is a flame source, something to hold your fiber with. And you need your eyes, your fingers, and your nose. So the senses that we're going to use are visibly watching how the fire burns, smelling the smell of the fibers burning, and then at the end feeling to see what the texture of the ash, I call it crumb sometimes, is to see what kind of fiber you are. In general, our cellulose fibers like cotton, rayon, linen, they are going to smell like burning paper because they come from plants, just like paper. So if you've ever smelled someone burning leaves in the fall, or if you've ever smelled someone lighting a fire starting with paper, it's going to have that very similar smell. Whereas opposed to wool and silk and other animal fibers like alpaca, they're going to smell a lot like burning hair. I don't know if you've ever singed the hair on your arm or your eyebrow hair at a hot fire, or if you've ever smelled a feather being burned. I recommend you try that, or you try some yarn that you know for sure is wool or silk, and you can get that smell if you've never smelled the burning hair smell. It's kind of acrid. The synthetic fibers like polyester, acrylic, nylon, they're going to have a smell that is ranges. It can be quite sweet and chemically sometimes. It can also smell a little bit acidic sometimes. I'm going to provide a chart for you, which you can easily download. I'll also put it up on the screen right now so that you can help determine what fibers that you are dealing with. So without further ado, let's get to the test itself. All right, let's begin. Let's talk about some of the equipment you're going to want. First of all, it's really important to have tweezers or pliers or something that you can pinch your yarns with. When I'm burning larger pieces of fabric, I don't always use tweezers. I sometimes use my hand, but it's always a better idea to have tweezers because some fibers light really, really quickly. I prefer as my flame source to use a candle, or if I'm just testing one fiber at a time, to use a lighter. I don't recommend using a match because it burns down quickly and you could worry about burning yourself. And also the striking of a match makes a really acrid smell that can skew some of the results. So I don't recommend that. I also recommend using a surface that is non-flammable, like a ceramic plate, and I recommend have a little bit of water nearby. I'm just going to pour some in this jar lid. Now you may want to have scissors, and you're of course going to need to have a flame source. Once again, I don't recommend matches. I'm going to be using this little butane torch, which is a little bit overkill, but it's what I could find at hand easily. And let's begin. Now what's funny is I actually forgot what some of these fibers were when I pulled them out earlier this morning. So we're going to see together what these fibers are using the burn test. So I'm going to cut a sample of this fiber. And the first thing we're going to do with the burn test is hold the fiber not in the flame but close to it and just watch. If it's some kind of synthetic or polyester, it may shrink away from the flame. It may literally melt away from the flame. There it goes. It's burning quickly. I just put it out. It smells a little bit like burning paper. Let's touch the... Yep, it's a light, fluffy, airy ash. So that indicates to me that this is either cotton or rayon. I have a little bit of a cold and my smell is not the best. It is a little hard to tell the difference between cotton and rayon, but really the main difference is that rayon has a slightly more acidic smell. It still smells like burning paper or leaves, but it has a slightly more acidic smell. So this, I would say, is definitely cotton. Speaking of rayon, I know this is rayon. Rayon is usually a lot shinier. Let's test this rayon and see how it performs. So once again, I'm going to hold it close by. It's not melting, which means there's not a high percentage of polyester or any kind of fiber that is from petroleum. So you get it close and it lights, it burns pretty rapidly. And once that cools down, I can touch the ash. It's almost non-existent, just a really light, airy, fluffy ash. And because of its shine, and if I had a better sense of smell right now, I would be able to tell that it's most likely rayon. Now let's try this yarn. This yarn looks very similar to either rayon or cotton. Let's see what we can figure out about it. Gonna hold it close by. Ooh. Now notice I'm lighting it. It seems to be self-extinguishing. Yep, kind of smells like burnt hair. But it's a very dense, smooth yarn, so I doubt it's wool, which means it's most likely silk. And then what I want you to do is observe that ash. You see there's a hard, or not hard, but there's a small black bead of ash. And when I crush that, it turns into a smudgy kind of soft mass, which means that this is probably silk. If this were a synthetic fiber, which we'll see later, that little bead of ash would actually be really hard, like a little bead of plastic. Now let's try wool. Cut off a little piece. Gonna hold it too. It's not shrinking away. Now, as you see, it's self-extinguishing, which means that it doesn't burn all the way to the tweezers. It's a nice woolly, fluffy yarn. I know that this is Jaeger spun super fine merino, so I know it's 100% wool. And we'll test that ash once again. And you see that it's a crumbly ash. It has a slightly rougher texture than the crumb of the ash in the silk. But yeah, really, really easy to tell the wool because it also has that burning hair or burning feathers smell. Now let's test some more difficult yarns. First of all, I'm going to do just a regular old acrylic yarn from the craft store. This you'll see in Walmart superstores, Super Saver kind of yarns. I'm going to get it close to the flame. And what you may see is that it wants to shrink away from the flame. See how it's not wanting to get any closer? And then when it catches on fire, it burns really rapidly. It has dark black smoke. Now I'm going to let this cool a little bit before I crush it in my hands because I know this is synthetic. You should let any fiber cool before you observe the ash. In fact, I may dip it in water a little bit just to make sure that it's cool. And when I touch this, it's hard to get it in frame. You'll notice that it is a hard, there's some chunks coming off of it, but the majority of it doesn't just dissolve like the others did. It's really hard. In fact, you can probably hear it. It's like a hard plastic bead. So we know that that's a synthetic. I'm not going to get into too much detail about trying to tell I'm not going to get into too much detail about trying to tell the difference between polyester and acetate and acrylic. You'll have that in the chart, which you can download at my website. Now let's try a really challenging yarn. I don't know the fiber content for this. This is what I was knitting with it. It's really beautiful. And I think it's probably a blend of synthetic and wool. Let's see if we can tell. So we're getting close. It's definitely shrinking away a little bit. It's burning pretty rapidly. The smoke is not thick and black. It definitely has a smell of burning here, but there's something chemical in there as well. So I'm fairly certain that this is a blend with some wool. And I'm going to touch the... Aha, that's very interesting. See, it's a mix. See, there's some ashy crumb, but also there's some hard places. If I had to guess, I would say this is a pretty traditional sock yarn, that it was a mix of nylon and wool and maybe some other fibers, but yeah, definitely has wool. You can smell the burning hair smell, but it has that hard crumb bead that the synthetic fibers do. Now this next yarn I actually know the fiber content of. This is one of my favorite yarns to use as a leader for spinning, and let's see if we can tease out the clues. So we're going to get close. It's burning pretty rapidly. Oh, it's a mixed smell. It smells like burning leaves, but it also smells a little bit like that burning hair, burning feathers. And because I know what this is, it's pretty easy to identify. But let me touch the crumb. There's no hardness whatsoever to the crumb, or the ash, I should say. So we know that there's not a synthetic in there. So I know that this is wool and cotton blended together. Actually, I just decided to try a fully polyester thread as well. So this is what polyester looks like. I'm going to get it close. It's going to light on fire and burn rapidly, then extinguish. Lots of acrid black smoke. A little black bead. And smell of burning plastic. A little bit sweeter than the smell of the acrylic. And oh, that bead just flew off actually. Yeah, but it's still there. Let's see if we can see that. This is very hard to get at this angle. But yeah, it's a little hard plastic bead of ash. Alrighty, there you have it. I think that you could see how easy this test is. Some things that I'll recommend is that you do it where there's not a strong breeze. We want to be able to smell the smoke coming off of whatever you're burning. So don't have any fans or air conditionings on. I usually don't do it outside because it's pretty windy almost always where I am outside, and there's actually more chances of causing a fire when you have wind than there is when you're in a nice calm environment with a fireproof surface like a plate or a piece of marble or stone or something like that, or glass even, and always have that safety dish of water handy. But I hope this helps you out a little bit if you're confused about how fibers work. I may do a whole series on fabrics and textiles. I put together a pretty extensive presentation that I teach to my costume design class, and you may be interested in some of the more nitty-gritty science part, which is what I've always enjoyed as a graduate student, learning about fibers and textiles. If you want to support this channel, please like and subscribe, and also leave me a comment. But also importantly, I'm trying to buy a new camera to help my setup. So like today I could have been recording both my hands while doing the demo and recording my face at the same time, which would have made a more compelling video, but I only have one camera. So if you want to help contribute to that, please look at the link in the description for my Buy Me a Coffee. All that money goes strictly to buying the camera. I have not taken any money out of that account, and I won't until I have enough to buy that camera. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. I hope where you are, you're enjoying beautiful weather like I am here in North Carolina, and keep crafting.